Three, two, one.
And welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on good question, July 27th. No, I'm way off. August 2nd, 2024, at approximately 4:30 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact same philosophies I guide virtually every movement I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of others with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, this week we are going back into the aliens, and the multiracial species, starting with that, and starting today with the Elfyyd. Simply because of the fact, well, we had to start somewhere. Now, a couple of things we have to realize. First and foremost, you guys, in all fairness, you've all heard about them. You call them elves. They were, when we go back to them, Joe Stewart, you are in with the gold. How you doing? Glad you could make us. Glad you could make it. As you can tell, my mouth is working really well today, but we'll work with it. Now, I know what people have been told, but from my memory, and here comes the big question, I've got two major books that come into play here, and you get to figure out how they fit. Now, this one, Races of the World. First and foremost, we've been working on a second printing, long overdue. I finished the expansion side of it. And this book is at what, 15, 58, I think 64. First printing had 64 pages. The second printing is coming out with 94. LA, how you doing? Looking forward to next week? Well, week after next, I guess it is. And yeah, we got a lot of work to do and a lot of stuff to discuss. But we'll get to that when we get down there. Rachel Andrews, you are in with the silver today. How you doing? The neat little part, like I was saying, this final expansion is done. We're about a third of the way through final edit. Now, the reality is, because of time constraints and the fact that on the 13th of August, I won't be on air. I won't even be in the city. Well, for that matter, I won't be in the country. But I will not be able to get this done before we head out at the beginning of August. And before we head out in August. Looks like we're looking closer to the middle of September. Simply because I've got to finish the editing and then I've got to have time to print it. But we are nearing the bottom end of it. Now, here's where the question I was going to be dealing with. I started putting this together very much under the request of the many wonderful people at Spaced Out Radio. Speaking of which, by the way, I will be on Spaced Out Radio. I will be spaced out on Spaced Out Radio tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific until 11. Again, I'm coming back with DT Connection, so definitely bring your questions. Now, when I started putting this together, I did not realize how much information I was sitting on. And honestly, until I got talking about it, I really didn't know. But this is why I look at it going, well, is my imagination just going into hyperdrive, or am I really remembering as much as it feels like? Fact of the matter is, every time I question it, I get corroboration from some researcher out there, usually one of you guys, going, wait a minute, that's exactly what we found over here. Now, I don't research. Okay, with this in mind, okay, the second book that comes into play. Oh, this literally is a reference manual. It talks about the layout, the structure of society, etc. Okay, but that's what it's designed for. There are pictures of each of the races. Okay, then we get to this one. This is literally my life's work. Okay, a 12 volume set. Okay, now the 3 books that are coming out, the 2 that are out, and the third one just about to come out, are not. They are not technically. They follow. How do I put this? They haven't happened, so they're certainly, hopefully, not precognitive prose. Okay, but inside this whole series, you'll run into many of the races that are contained in Races of the World. But what you'll do is you'll find what their personalities are like, that sort of thing. Okay, now, when we take a look at the Elfyyd, okay, they were the first race that was built. Okay, and they were literally built on Earth. They were built by the thousands. Okay, now we'll get on to other things after that, but they were built by the thousands for spirits to inhabit and thereby experience the physical world, the corporeal world, in a limited sensory capacity. The reality is the number of memories that people have, okay, from, due to past lives, the corporeal brain will not process it all. It's just not built to it. It hasn't evolved that far. But all of them started in one location. Okay. Now, have I been able to get somebody to translate it? No. I know exactly where it was built. Okay. Problem is that, how you doing, Renee? You are in with the bronze. Glad you could join us. Now, when I started writing the Chronicles, what I started remembering was how the Elfyyd all came about. Where they were built, they were not expecting as many people coming in as they had coming, because the bodies were literally designed so that spirits could inhabit them and operate a corporeal vehicle. Because there were so many, they scattered, okay, in major groups. Okay, now here's the reality. This is where it combines with what humans go through. Okay, they spread out to the 4 corners of the earth. Well, we shouldn't really call them corners. Sorry, guys, world not flat. Okay, in all fairness, once you really look at it, and for those of you that want to go there, I can certainly explain why the world is actually pear-shaped, not flat, neither is it round, but it does explain why it looks round. Okay, and I'm just not going to go there tonight. But the Elfyyd moved to various different quadrants and different terrains, different weather patterns, and thereby, over the millennia, changed certain aspects, such as pigmentation, especially connections to various abilities. Okay, even their height and weight changed. Okay, much like when you look at humans, they have the same problem. They're all Homo sapien. Okay, and yes, there are hybrids out there. There are aliens amongst you. Absolutely. But I'm talking about the massive majority of you. Okay, the Elfyyd became multiple different races due to where they were living. Now, I've actually added this to the 2 races of the world. Okay, when you take a look at this particular race, you have a number of them, not the least of which is the Tasatano. The Tasatano are literally the original Elfyyd. Okay. And they are golden skinned. They are, because of their attachment to true magic, they become masters of literally what they call spirit magic, meaning translating the magic, the higher abilities from off-world, physically converting them into stuff that works on this world. Okay, now the Tatsutano are literally immortal. They can live for literally billions of years. There are a few of them still alive. Okay, and by the way, guys, if you have questions as we go along, absolutely ask. Okay, remember, put the questions in the chat room in all caps. It's easier for me to find them. Now, let us see here. I've actually got notes for these because I'm pulling it right out of the manual. Because I tell you, I got way too much going on here to keep it sorted. I keep forgetting what I had for breakfast, so much less what I did with my coffee. But the Tatsutano literally are not. They just don't die of old age. Okay, they are linked directly to Esau. Okay, and thereby they are here. Okay, you won't see them in all likelihood, but that has to do with mankind's absolutely aggressive and very immature attitude, i.e., we're the best, we can kill anything we want. Well, no, you can't. But considering they've got no interest in creating a major problem, they spent billions of years on top of the planet, on the surface of the earth, and then went underground after a number of things happened. But they turned the world over to mankind to take care of. Okay, mankind has dropped the ball. Now, when you look at the Tatsutano, they work with spirit magic, meaning all aspects, including 0-point manipulation. Okay, now with them because of that race, now that one, that's the originals, and when the other Elfyyd run into them, it's the Tatsutano that they essentially look up to. Okay, much like many people will look up to somebody that figured out how to build a vehicle properly. If you're interested in building a vehicle, find somebody that's done it effectively. Okay, now, I take a look back at the vehicles over my lifetime, and I will tell you, I am not a mechanic. My understanding is, well, I taste like my hand in the door. No, honestly, Joe's going, how can I stop repeating myself so much? It literally boils down to slow your speech down. What's happening is your brain's going so fast. You're trying to, you get ahead of yourself and your mouth is going into gear. You get used to it, but the trick to not repeating yourself is deliberately slow your speech down. It's going to sound a little funny to some people, but the reality is, Joe, if you do that, it gives you a moment to think before you say what you're up to. Okay, but it does take time to relearn, because I'm betting you've been repeating yourself multiple times, for many years, which means it's a habit. And it will take work. Hopefully that helps. But the real key there, Joe, is literally to stop and think before you say something. And I'm the last one to tell you about spontaneous verbosity. Unfortunately, my mouth goes into hyperdrive and out it comes. But when we look at the Tatsutano, they are the ones that designed everything to start with. But because there were so many spirits that desired to experience this world, they built a whole lot more of the Elfyyd forms. But because they didn't have enough time, the newer forms did not have the lifespan. And, the nice part about it, where did I put it? This neat little book here. Okay, that size. And, I meant to get this to you, Storm. All of these books that are this size, I just sent one off to Australia. As it turns out, in the, in Buy Me a Coffee, any of these self-help books and anything that we put out this size, I can actually ship anywhere in the world for $20 Canadian in your hand. Okay, the reason I know this is because I just sent one to Australia, and that's how I found out I can do it. I can produce it and ship it and still have enough money to reorder. Okay, so we will talk about that again there, Storm. Just giving you the heads up. But I've already started laying out a smaller version of the Elfyyd race. Okay, which will be called as was suggested. And I do believe it was LA that suggested it, where we've already laid out the format for it for Meet the Elfyyd. And Meet the Elfyyd, Meet the Reptilians, and Meet the Reticulans. These are all books that'll all be available the same way as I get them done. Okay, now that was the first race, but when they built the extra bodies, they didn't have the time to lock them in. However, with that in mind, there are a number of different races that evolved. Okay, and if we start off, I'll just start the way I've got them listed. They aren't even in order, so I'm just not going to worry about that. Just going to remember, but where did we go? Brain's on hold. That's not what I needed. What, pray tell? It's out in the car. Okay. So. Okay, so I will be alphabetizing these inside the book, but for the moment, I'm just going to run down from the top. And again, if you've got questions, in all fairness there, Joe, if your parents are asking you questions too long or too quick, this is where a lot of the repeating can come in. And all you do there is you literally stop answering right off the bat. You think and then you state. Okay, now, when the Tassitano started building the new Elfyyd, okay, because they had to work quick. Okay, how's it doing there, Joseph? Joseph Lawrenson has joined us here, and I think I missed somebody. Just want to go back up here. We have Joe Stewart is in with the gold. Rachel got in with the silver. Then Renee came in with the bronze. And this means, and I didn't see you come in, Renee. My apologies. Glad you could join us. And therefore, Joseph Ranson, you are in with honorable mention. Now, when we take a look at the races, when they were built, okay, you take a look at the Concari, okay, they are the Elfyyd race that retreated into the mountains. Now the Concari are literally where they put their real effort was into literal working with stone, working with dirt, basically shaping it. Okay. Learning how to meld into it, learning how to disappear. This was their stock in trade. Now, you can bet there was some interesting interactions when the Korbor showed up on the planet. Okay, kind of a crossover as to who had control over what. Okay, but the Kinkari are of the different races. Physically, they are the strongest. Okay, of all the different races, the Kinkari are actually the strongest of the bunch. Okay, now they took to the mountains. They're the ones that will disappear up into the highlands. You'll never see them if they don't want you to. The other neat little kick there is they are the ones that figured out solid earth magic. The Kinkari are the ones that connected with various humans to figure out how to work with the land. Okay, and I'm talking about I'm talking about when you go into the Highlanders with the Scots. Okay, they moved up into that area and taught them how to work with the land. They weren't the only ones that knew how. Okay, then we take a look down a little further, and we've got the Hadar. Now, the Hadar, they got down to the coastal line, spent so much time on the coast, they eventually adapted to getting into the water and to literally living in the water, which means, yes, the Hadar, also known, and that's Hadar, Hotel Alpha Delta Alpha Romeo. Okay, they are the ones that you would know as Sea Elfyyd. They're also the ones that have a civilization at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. Oh, by the way, the Kinkari live, when we're talking about they dig in way up in the mountains, we are talking the tops of the Himalayas, the tops of Mount Everest, way up in the snow line. Okay, but the Hadar learned how to work with liquid. Okay, now understand, all of the Elfyyd they're almost essentially immortal. The reality is they have varying degrees of life, aside from the Tassitano, which just do not pass, and they just don't pass away from old age. This is why some of the ones walking around today, and the odds of you ever seeing them, not good. Okay, but the Tassitano are the only ones that are truly immortal. They just don't die. But all of the Elfyyd know exactly how to work with magic, with what you call magic. Now, this is where it gets to be a little weird. Because as I'm writing this, I'm going, okay, some of these races that I come across, I recognize from some of the stuff that I've seen on Earth. Some of the movies, some of the gaming systems, I've seen these things. And this is why I say, I sit here going, is this just my imagination going wild? Or is there something solid going on here? But every time I question that, I come up with the same problem. Somebody turns around and corroborates it. Now, let's step down to the next. And yes, I'm just doing a quick cursory overrun. Okay. Because when you take a look at them, the Hadar, when the Hadar started trying to communicate with humans, they did the normal thing. Okay. They didn't think about it, but they'd grab a human, take it into the ocean, and take it underwater. Well, that was literally where the problem was. They never registered that humans don't breathe underwater. See, according to the Hadar, humans are born, like the child is born in an amniotic sac. Okay, literally they're born underwater. Granted, inside the mother's womb. But the Hadar looked at it and went, well, humans breathe water anyway. And you got to remember, Hadar are born being able to breathe water and air. Okay, so with that in mind, they couldn't see the problem, and they grab a human and go, let's take him underwater. Well, needless to say, By the time they got them down to the bottom of the trench, which is where their main city is, okay, by the time they got down there, any humans they took would be completely wiped out. Okay, so that's where you run into a problem there. Now, then we have when we move out away from the water, okay, move out into the plains. This is where the Jerumi are. Now, the Jerumi are, skin color, of course. And I should have written this down already. Because when you have, where are we? The Kinkari, we know, are brown skinned. Sometimes as deep as black, but primarily brown. Then we have, which are we? Oh, well, of course, the Tassatano. They're golden skinned. Like, these guys all look ultimately the same, except skin color and hair color gets varied. Okay. The Hadar are much closer to a bluish green color. And yes, like I've mentioned before, as I talk about this sort of thing, many times it pops up. This is what I'm looking at. Now, the Jerumi actually moved out onto the plains. Thing is, they are almost a yellowish orange, yellowish brown, take your pick. Okay. They are the color, for those of you that understand this term, they're the color of hay or the color of wheat, depending on who you talk to. Okay. These guys have adapted to life on the open plain. Okay. And their claim to fame, their adaptation, is they learned how to run a whole lot faster than you might think. Okay. Needless to say, their stamina is something bizarre. But they live out on the open plain and adapted their entire nomadic lifestyle to that venue. Now, do understand, you won't run into massive tribes of these people. They survive by staying out of view. Now, the other race that you've got to deal with are the Kabari. Okay. These are the ones that return to the desert. Now, understand, there are two different groups of Kabari. Okay, the Kabari, which live in the sandy desert with minimal vegetation, you know the type, like the Sahara. Okay, you've got the Kabari. But you also have the white-skinned Kabari. These are the ones that live in the snows. Essentially, they develop the same way. But I'm pretty certain that's why I keep having trouble. I'm looking at this going, I've got the spelling wrong. And the neat part is I didn't have the spelling wrong. We have the Kabari in the desert. Okay. And then we have the Kabari, which are in the Arctic. Well, in both the north and south. And yes, just for those of you that are wondering, this does mean that the Kabari did have contact with the Atlanteans. Okay. There is a crossover there. Of course, you got to remember, these guys have been around for a while. Now, the neat part about this is we are talking about people that will shouldn't say all, there's one group I forgot. The last group, and this is a group that is, to say the least, a bit complicated. And that's the Combi. Now, the Combi went directly underground. They didn't go on surface. They went into the caverns. But because of that, okay, they developed the ability. Now, their skin automatically, because of lack of sunlight, started to go white. What they did was they figured out via utilizing natural talents, they shifted their gear to a negative imprint, or their skin. They shifted their pigmentation to a negative imprint. In other words, it was white. They flipped it completely around. They are black skinned. Now, you try seeing a black skinned individual inside a purely black environment. So what have we got here? Just curiosity. 1, 2, 3. Well, there's a shocking surprise. Oh, wow. 7 different races. Okay. Now, if I recall correctly, and somebody out there knows more than I do on this one, but I believe somebody said there are 7 different mainstream races on Earth, such as, well, let's just take a look at that and see if we can figure out what we go. I'm talking about humans, by the way. We have Caucasian, we have the Negro, we have the East Indians, and these are all, okay, well, Negro are African. And if I'm saying something that upsets somebody because I'm using a word to describe something, there's not much I can do about it. Okay. I mean, I got accused of being racist one day for calling a blonde girl blonde. When I looked at the woman that accused me of it, I says, so what color do you want me to refer to? And what color is her hair? Well, her hair is blonde. Then why are you complaining about it? Okay. I'm looking at literally the configurations here. Okay. So you've got Caucasians, you've got the Africans, you've got East Indians, you've got Orientals. You've got, now, there's got to be ones I'm missing here. Okay. I'm suspecting that there are probably 7. Kind of like I've been told there are 7 mainstream religions. And I'm not entirely certain which ones fit mainstream. What I do know is where it came to the Tusitano. Okay. They are the most, there's not many of them, but they are the most powerful. Okay. In a lot of ways. The Kambi are the most aggressive. And these are the ones you really don't want to go to war with because they won't negotiate. They can be believed wholeheartedly they should be in dominant control. And they'll take it any way they can get it. Which, needless to say, doesn't mesh well with the other 6 races. But here's what the Elfyyd are having trouble with. And yes, we are working with the ones that are available. Okay. All of them hold part of the reality of their abilities. All of them do. But in order to gain access to these, you really have to know what you're up against. You know, you've got to be willing to actually open that door. Now, when we take a look at these guys, okay, as a whole, they're very reluctant to get around humans for the most part. Yes, there are absolutely some half-breed Elfyyd human crosses. A half-breed, by the way, is what the offspring is called when an Elfyyd climbs into physical bed with a human. Then you get a half-breed. A hybrid is built under a microscope in a lab. See, LA's going. I worked with the elderly for a long time. Takes a different approach. It does. It's very much like working with children. You have to handle it in a different fashion. One day I'll figure out how that works. But when we're looking at the Elfyyd, they gave up their access to the surface world. Okay, and you'll love this. They gave up to it at the hand of the Korbor. The Korbor opened the door and let them in. Okay, and I'm gotta go through my notes because tomorrow we're going to be looking at the Korbor. Okay, but we'll stick to the Elfyyd for the moment. Okay, now the thing you gotta realize with the Elfyyd race, number one, they have various different schools of true magic they work with. Okay, and I am talking about that true magic of, gee, let's look at the landscape and we've got a problem that's getting out of hand. Let's, I don't know, crack the world open and create a sinkhole. Okay, now, when you take a look at the Kinkari, okay, they can do that. By the way, so can the Korbor. The Korbor, on the other hand, have it to a fine art where they can take New York City, let's take New York City just as an example. Okay, pick one major organization. Okay, now let's take head office. I don't even know if this is in New York. Okay, but take the head office. Let's say, for instance, DuPont. Now, most people have heard DuPont. I can't even remember what they actually manufacture. But let's assume they're being above board and actually working with the survival of the planet in place. Okay, and the Korbor come into the equation and go, okay, we've got to go to war. They've got the capacity to open a sinkhole under the entirety of that city, leaving a pedestal for that manufacturing plant to stay in place. Okay, they're that good. The Elfyyd have a slightly different way of doing it. Okay, if they're using if the Kinkari decide to go to war on that level, they will bring the mountain down on whoever is available. Okay, or cause a volcanic eruption. That works. Okay, but again, we are talking about that kind of magic that you've read about in stories, where, for instance, the Kinkari they'll simply create a ball of energy and fire it at a wall and fracture the wall. Okay, picture what'll happen to a human getting caught by the same thing. Now, when we shift gears and go to the ocean, and we look at the Hadar. Now, the Hadar are wonderful people, but they've got the capacity to work with liquid. Guess what the ocean is? Okay, these are the guys that have direct ability and contact to bring forth the Whalosh. Okay, they can call on the whaling. Many of the underwater species will respond to the Hadar. Okay, if called upon for help. Okay, now the other neat little thing about the Hadar is they are very capable of traveling through the water so much faster than what you might think. I mean, look at it this way. What's the fastest weapon that you can think of offhand? We start looking at human technology. Okay, and you start looking at torpedoes. Hadar will outrun a torpedo without even blinking. Difficult part is if they feel they have to, they'll turn around and send it back. And that's just a question of the torpedoes heading along, and all they have to do is catch the back end of it and push, and then let go. And the torpedo will go right back down the line and came. Okay, now, when we take a look, we will get to those. That is not the Hadar. Philip, how you doing? Glad you could join us. when you start looking at what you're calling laser beams, that falls under the Kabari, and we'll get to those pretty quick. Okay, the Kabari are the desert and the desert Elfyyd. Okay, they're the ones that have control over light. Okay, now they're also the ones that have control over a few other things. But the Kabari do not, when we take a look at the Jerome, the Plains Elfyyd, these are the ones that can outrun they can outrun any animal. That's the easy part. Okay, but they are also, they're the ones that are capable of modifying atmosphere. Okay, then we move on to the Kabari, the desert Elfyyd. Those are the ones that are skilled in the school of light magic, also known as laser optics. Okay, they have a wide array of things they can do by natural ability. Fortunately, they don't desire to take over man's life or man's world. Lack of oxygen, that's always fun. The Kabari are literally able to travel over the desert sands at a staggering level. They also have the capacity of limited flight, more like running and gliding for a very long time. Now, it's a very subtle difference. Your Kabari are they are the desert folk. When you take a look at the Kabari, you're looking at the Arctic. Okay, you're looking at the snow Elfyyd, and these guys are very capable of still working with light magic, but they are much more adept at the temperature variation. Okay, and again, the Kabari and the Kabari and Kabari both have that same little lack of requirement for hydration. They pull the liquid right out of the atmosphere. Okay, and then we go to the most violent of the bunch, the Combi. Now, the Combi are undergrounders. Okay, they work in the shadows all the time. And the big thing you got to realize there is they've got no compunction about utilizing their abilities. Now, don't get me wrong, they will not voluntarily show humans. If they show humans, 9 times out of 10, they'll kill the human they show. But in a nutshell, that's the first 7 races. Like I said, I think that's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. 7 different races. Okay. All Elfyyd. All the same species. Now, they do not all get along. The Combi desire to rule everything, one way or another. And the Combi is the one race of Elfyyd that have zero concern over slavery of whatever they can get their hands on. Joseph, if anybody's terraforming Venus, we could have a problem. And here's why. Okay, Venus is occupied, and the Venusians are not going to take kindly to it. Much worse for mankind is if mankind tries terraforming Venus, because of the contract between the Venusians and the Martokians, which are, by the way, the ones living on Mars. Okay, Mars will launch a counterattack on Earth. Now, since that is not a real viable concern, we just simply take the whole idea of terraforming Venus and go, not going to happen in your lifetime, or for that matter, in any human's lifetime, especially not any that are existing now. Although it's an interesting idea. It's kind of like, gee, let's go colonize Mars, because there's an idea. Really poorly thought out one. It's occupied. The thing we got to remember here is this, and this is what the Elfyyd turned around when the great battle that drove them underground happened. Okay, they told humans, you guys are the caretakers now. We gave it a shot, it went south. We're leaving it to you guys. Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So there we go, and he's out and about tonight. Just remember, more attention on driving than you do on either our show or what's in the air. And where are we here? But yeah, Nathan, just a thought. Okay. Yes, very definitely. But if you're out, since you're out and about, keep an eye for the cyclic passing of stars. In other words, you've got a star here, and it disappears and then shows up again. Because what you're looking at there, in all likelihood, is a UFO that you can't quite see, but you can see the impact. Now, the Elfyyd, when they created, because the Elfyyd were actually the ones that did the modification on Earth. Now, this is simply what I know. And yeah, some of you are going to go, oh, you're just making this up because science is proving this. Well, let's be clear about something. Science proved the Earth was flat. Okay. And now we know differently. By the way, the Earth is also not round. But there is an explanation as to why it's always seen as round. Okay. That's a limited technology. In my case, I have, as a matter of fact, I'll show you this. This is something the Elfyyd brought back with them. Okay. Because we cannot keep up with the other planets. When you look at a planet leaning away from you, you're seeing a round planet. Okay. If you have to be looking at one catching up, you're still seeing a round planet. But if you could actually match pace, and human technology cannot do this, you look at the side of the planet and now look at the shape you're looking at, because it'll be traveling this way. Okay, so no, the planet is not flat, nor is it round. But if you can get a look at the side of it, it goes across that way. Okay, and you can see the way it fits. Okay, this actually, I forget what it's called. I think it's a plant. But the Elfyyd are the ones that put everything together. They accelerated the indigenous life forms in order to create humans, primarily because they were much easier to build and much easier to repair. Not to mention being really fast at replicating. So when we take a look, when you look at the combi, they will take anybody. Okay, they will conquer, enslave, torture, whatever they figure works. Okay, but the Tatsitano are the ones that lay out the rules for the Elfyyd. Not that the Cambi actually pay much attention to it, but that's where some of the problem comes in. Okay, this is where you run into an interesting problem. Now, of course, everybody's got their specialty. Let's face it. You take somebody from, like, I'm up here in Canada. I like the temperature I've got. Those of you way down in the southlands of the States, your temperatures are higher, your temperatures are drier. That has something to do with it being the equator. then you're getting closer to it. Okay, but different areas, different terrains will modify pigmentation and abilities, sensitivities, tendencies. All of it gets modified by locale. Okay, this is the thing we have to realize. And with the Elfyyd, they know each one of them have different abilities or different strengths, if you will. So I'm hoping this is making sense. And again, guys, if you have questions, absolutely ask. The only thing I do caution you on is I'm not a researcher. So if you're looking for statistics and what have you, I can give statistics based on what I know about human beings. But then I've been consulting for 37 years with well over 100,000 clients. Okay. Matter of fact, that was something I meant to actually ship to Frank, but to Storm there. But I will be posting. I am starting to push the consulting side again and the sales. So I started writing up my own ads because, quite frankly, so-called professionals prove to be useless. Okay. Now, did I miss anybody coming in here? Nope. Oh, the good news that I did miss this. Joseph is just letting us know. Venus is suddenly showing signs that there is life there. Well, bad news. There's been life on Venus longer than there's been life on Earth. It's just mankind didn't recognize it. Can't imagine why not. Of course, I'd venture to say that humans haven't really started recognizing their own true value or the value of those around them. Well, here's the thing, Joseph. Okay, and I'm not going any further down this road. What mankind doesn't know is a staggering amount more than what it does. So the fact that humans are only just starting to see it is not an entire shock. Okay, and bearing in mind, I am like I said, I took a course in theoretical genetics. I did not take a course in bioengineering. Okay, what I do know is that mankind is so far behind itself and so caught up in wanting to prove they know more than everybody else. They're missing the boat. Now the Elfyyd are sitting there going, okay, these guys talk about ruling the entire world and they'll conquer anything that comes at them. You realize one Tasatano could literally obliterate a city block by just thinking about it. Okay, you take a look at the Kabari. Okay, now some of you know what a hell. I learned them as a hellbore laser. They're a mining laser. Now, what would you do if I told you that the Kabari actually have the capacity to simply point their hand at you and literally hit you with a full strength, unlimited, well, until their own energy runs out, hellbore laser. Okay, punching a hole wherever they please. Okay, and when you take a look at where are they? Gases. There we are. The Jerumi. They're the ones that control atmospheric flow. So we got to realize humans are children. And I don't care how much education a human has. I will tell you, you're missing, in all likelihood, you're missing critical factors. Now, I can look at Stephen Hawking, who is touted as being one of the greatest minds on Earth of the last century. Thing is, he was, from my calculations, about a week away from proving the existence of the multiverse. Okay, I know he was on the right track. Mathematically, I have no idea how he did it. Okay, I just know he was on the right track. The Elfyyd are a wonderful group of people. Okay, for the most part, they are much more interested in keeping a balance between the living denizens of Earth and each ourselves. And they'll do what they have to. But because they gave up the surface to the humans, humans have the responsibility of taking care of the planet. Now, here's an odd thought. When are humans going to get the message? That's the big thing we have to look at. Because so many people are missing this altogether. But I will tell you that, like, I'm going to ask a real loaded question here. And I don't know if you got the answer, Joseph, but you say it's now showing that Venus is now showing signs of life. How long ago did they figure it out as far as you're aware? Because I will tell you this. My first trip to Venus, actually to the other side of Venus, my first trip, when I found out about it, was 1969-ish. Okay. Now, bear in mind, in 1969, I was only 6 years old. And I will qualify one other little detail. To quote Joseph, not us. It's showing gases known to come from life. Qualifier. It's showing gases known to come from human recognized life. Okay. The thing is, life is not as limited or as stuck in itself as humans believe. Don't breathe water. Lord knows I don't. Okay, successfully trying to drown myself. By the way, this is a bad pastime. The drowning yourself, I've done it before. Oh, there we are. Oh, that ought to be interesting, Joe. Joe's just letting us know that the sun sets about 8:52 on his end, which is about 25 minutes. Okay, and as we all know, it's easier to see things going on in the cemetery at night, than what it is to see them during the day. But I would surmise, and it only just dawned on me there, Joe, if you're seeing things walking around on the ground, okay, it is quite possible that you are dealing with Elfyyd or fairies or any number of other denizens on Earth, ancient races that are still out and about, because some of them communicate quite readily with ghosts. But the Elfyyd they are quite well connected. And the thing you got to remember with them, although they are not telepathically connected like some races, they do have a beautiful intercontinental communication system. Okay. Now it takes a little longer, but they've got an entire ecosystem to be heard. But like I said, they defer to the Toxtano. Okay, that's the neat part about it. And these guys they're spread out all over the world, or more to the point, spread out all under the world. Okay, and with that in mind, I do believe, did I miss the group here? I'm thinking, oh, that's why. I will have to look into it, but I'm pretty certain that the Jerome also extend into the end of the forest. I believe it was them. As a matter of fact, I wonder if I had it on the page here on what I was working on. Where are we? Yep. I will have. There's a. Yeah, we do have two. With the Jerome, there is actually. I made a mistake. We are not looking at 7. We're looking at 8. But I will have to go and take a look for it because I knew it was missing a group. But there is a group of Elfyyd that moved back into the tree line. Okay. And that's where they disappear. I'm a freaking moron on occasion. Okay. And I've got them. I know who we're referring to. They are not Elfyyd per se anymore. Okay. They evolved into the tree dwellers. Okay. And what I mean by that is literally you would know them as your some of you would recognize the term the dryads. Okay, they are literally the tree spirits. Okay, there was an island down south. I cannot for the life of me remember what the name of the island was, where people just vanished. We're talking way back during the Spanish expansion. But there are a great many Elfyyd that are floating around. Okay, you may well run into half Elfyyd. Now, understand, when you take a look at a human, because people keep asking me, how can you spot one of these hybrids or one of these half breeds? Something you got to remember: one trait does not a half breed make. Okay. There are all kinds of, we take a look at ears. Now, yes, the Elfyyd race do have, on the whole, pointed ears. Okay, but the fact they're pointed, and the fact that a human comes up with a pointed ear does not mean he's half Elfyyd. Okay, you have to look at a whole pile of things, not the least of which is what they eat. Okay. And with some of them, their diet has become, shall we say, a little bit more limited. Understand the prime example of this. Combi are known to be not only carnivorous, but cannibalistic. Elfyyd, on the whole, are vegetarian with minimal meat, and usually that boils down to fish. Okay. The Combi, on the other hand, have grown accustomed to all kinds of weird and wonderful things. Okay, the Tlacitano are an interesting race. They don't actually have to eat, period. They eat and drink because they enjoy it. It's got no functional value for them, other than exercise and futility. Joe just letting us know. Yeah. Joe just letting us know with the cemetery picking up activity, he's not going outside now. Yep. Upstairs window is just fine. I'm one of these weird people. I see something going on in a cemetery if I'm actually out. And I know this because I used to do it. But if I'm out and about and I see it, I'm likely to go looking. But then I'm curious. When we take a look at the Elfyyd race on the whole, number one, very adept at communicating silently. okay, or by using local sounds. And yes, by the way, just for those of you that are having fun with the idea, when you look at the Sasquatch, the Reclonicon, okay, when you take a look at the Reclonicon, some of the knocking you guys have been hearing may well be, and in this case, I'd be inclined to, they may well be Elfyyd, because the Elfyyd will communicate with many of the other forest dwellers, okay, using a series of chirps, whistles, and thumps. The reality of that is it boils down to a trade language, okay, kind of like Hausa is a northern Nigerian trade language used between many of the different nations up there. Okay, or over there, call it what you will. Okay, but when we're looking at the Elfyyd, they will communicate it any way they can figure out how. Most are not telepathic. The Tatsitano are. Okay, they're fully telepathic. And by the way, with their level of telepathy, if they really wanted to, and they don't, otherwise they'd done a long time ago, they can literally, purify somebody's brain just by thinking about it. Which probably means they got a hold of a number of the politicians in the world today. But that's just a side note. The thing we have to realize is that when you're looking at the various different races, okay, when you're looking at the Elfyyd, they are here as emissaries to protect Esau. Oddly enough, they've taken to protecting Esau from the appointed caretakers, from the humans, okay? And if humans keep doing what they're doing, it's going to get complicated, okay? Because what they're likely to find is that certain equipment all of a sudden starts to fail. Okay, and this is because there is no point in letting humans destroy their own planet. There are way more people on Earth than there are humans, and the Elfyyd know this. Now, here's the thing. At the time that humans were built, there were two other races built by the Tatsitano. Okay, the Korbor and various races thereof, what you know as dwarves. Okay, they and the Parake were both created, were all three created at the same time, all for the same reason. Okay, but the Korbor went underground. The Parake headed for the woodlands and the plain, and for the woodlands and the foothills. And then humans took everything else except the sea. Okay, but because the humans ended up taking dominant control over the surface world, they became the caretakers. This does not mean that humans have more right than anybody else. Okay, it simply means you're on the surface. That's it. So hopefully this is explaining a little bit more. Now, here's a neat little kicker, and this is where I brought this thing up. Okay, in the Elderbachian Chronicles, I literally cover much of the different attitudes of the different races. Now, the thing is, book 10, 11, and 12, 10, 11 are out. 12 is just about complete. I finally found the breakthrough I needed to tie it off. Oddly enough, I had to get my finances in my own head straight before I could do much else. So I'm still working on that. Okay, with that in mind, okay, I will start posting tonight, pushing the issue of advertising, saying the books and what have you, a little more effectively. For those of you that are actually interested in them, the one website you can get them at is listed right at the top of this stream, called Buy Me a Coffee. What? Whoa, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Be careful with junk food there. Well, I made the mistake the other day. Really bad idea, and I paid for it. I mean, where it comes to Pop-Tarts, I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, I love the things. I've been known to sit down and eat a complete box of Pop-Tarts on its own and call that a meal. Of course, you do that with a liter Coca-Cola chaser. Not a good idea for sugar levels. Actually, come to think, it works really well for jacking them. But the Elfyyd race, okay, are responsible for a lot of the changes that have taken place. Okay, and I love it the way that humans go, oh, but that's not what our research shows. You got to remember something about research. Somebody discovers something, writes it down, puts it into a book, okay, and other people come along, read that book, and go, I researched, and this is what was said. Somebody else comes along, reads a book, adds something a little different. Okay. Adds a little bit of a change, and all of a sudden, you're getting more and more of these books out. You realize this book, okay, this series, give it 50 years, and people will be looking at this series as research or reference material. And especially this one. Okay, people will start looking at this as reference material. Now, I am not a researcher. I didn't look any of this stuff up. Okay, when I am talking about the Elfyyd, the reason I know what's going on with them is because some of my best friends are Elfyyd. And no, I'm not introducing you, so let's not go there. Okay, from my standpoint, it boils down to this. They want the spotlight, they can figure it out for themselves. I never really desired the spotlight, but it does look like that's where I'm going to end up heading. But that said, when we look at the Elfyyd itself, they got here, they were doing their best. But when the Combi took a dominant interest in conquering the planet, because they were so quick to go to the darker side, to the intimidation, to the murderous side, the other races, not desiring to get into full-blown war, looked for a more passive approach. Didn't work so great. Okay, but now mankind has a real need opportunity. You can absolutely continue down the road you're on, or you might desire to take a page out of the Elfyyd book. Okay, because the Elfyyd race went through that and gave up their entire dominant position on Earth in order that they could survive at all. Humans are now at a point where you guys have to stop segregating yourselves, at least if you desire to survive. Okay, just a thought. But I think it's one that bears some merit. Of course, I've been known to be wrong. So we are looking at a whole lot of change taking place. That the Elfyyd are slowly surfacing by sending out some hybrids. You're not likely to see a purebred. Okay, rest assured, if you do, you're not going to be questioning it. But I will tell you, there are some of those amongst you that will now go, oh, I ran into a true Elfyyd. Okay. And the sad part there, Joe, I won't argue it. Joe Monkey is here. Joe, how are you doing? Glad you could join us. I will not argue with you on that point. The truth of it is, from my experience, though, humans are, on the whole, truly ignorant. Okay, there's a staggering number that moved into positions of power that I absolutely agree with are stupid. Bear in mind, true ignorance, for whatever reason you didn't know, you didn't figure it out, you don't know better, and you get yourself into trouble. Stupidity is when you knew better and did it anyway. The fact of the matter is that when you're looking at that, okay, humans have a staggering way of looking at the world going, oh, it's not intelligent life because it doesn't have 2 legs, 2 arms, 1 head, and no brain. Wait a minute, that was wrong. Not the no brain thing. There was a kid about 25, 30 years ago that was born with only a little cerebral cortex and about 14 ounces of water in their head. Okay, but humans, yeah, I've got a lot to say about them, and not a lot of it polite, except it's true ignorance. The reason people are so misguided is you've been listening to people telling you you can't figure it out. You're not valuable enough to warrant it. Or worse, you don't understand. You just won't get it. Okay. Now, in the metaphysical field, I love the people that do this. Not. I wrote a book. Now, here's for me. I wrote a book on races of the world. Ask me anything, whatever it is. Okay. I'll turn around and myself, I'll go, well, here's the information I know. I may not even have to open the book up, by the way. But here's the information I know. Now, you buy the book in this volume. There's 60 different races. Okay. Set up in a reference manual form, complete with pictures. But I'll give you the answer to your question. Then buy the book to have it in your hand. Absolutely, I'll tell you buy it. Okay. But when you look at that, okay, I'm not about to tell you, I've got the information in book. You want an answer? I'm not giving it to you. Buy my book. I'm not going there. Okay. Because there's this funny thing about karmic law. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Are we really that far? Oh, okay. For a minute there, I was looking at this going, and we were just about out of time. But apparently not. Oh, that's why. I'm looking at the clock on the computer going, but it says 1:18, but that doesn't mean 118 minutes. It means 1 hour and 18 minutes, so we're good. In any event, with the Elfyyd, I've actually laid it out. I've already got the template laid out for it. And what did I do with the book? There. What we're talking about right now, sometime later this year, there will be a book out this size, if everything goes well, okay, covering what we've just been looking at. Okay. And that's going to happen with a lot more. I cannot begin to tell you how much information I'm sitting on. Thanks for dropping in there, Joseph. Glad you could join us. The neat part about it. I think so, Joe. I mean, we do get all three in here, once in a while. And I hesitate to try and figure out which one was the first through the door originally. But when we look at the Elfyyd are a congenial race on the whole. No, they're not going to, for the most part, teach humans how to work with true magic. Okay? Because the problem with that is humans are far too aggressive. Now, they've already got the combi, and the combi are a problem group. There is no point in creating an extra one. Right now, Elfyyd have this phenomenal capacity where they can control some of it. Okay. That's the nice part about it. But they're not about to create a bigger problem by turning around and telling you, here's a way that you can destroy your enemies. You want to know how the best way to destroy any enemy on Earth? And this applies to each and every one of you. You desire to destroy an enemy, make him a friend. I know that's a weird idea. But you know, when I was in school, when I was in high school, there was a bully I had to deal with regularly. And he finally pushed a button, created a problem, made a miscalculation, and almost overnight, he went from being a bully towards me to being a staunch defender. That's the easiest way. Well, it's the most efficient way to get rid to vanquish your enemies. Turn them into friends. Okay. That's just the easiest way to look at it. I will deal with that afterwards. So with that in mind, we are looking at a lot of changes happening that the Elfyyd are already undergoing underground. Now, understand, the Hadar, yes, they live at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, below the silt level, and thus far mankind has not been able to get there. A lot of the Elfyyd are in what you consider hollow or inner Earth. Okay. So I do hope this is making sense to you guys. I know, now where are we here? We are coming on 6 o'clock. And I know, LA is keeping an eye open for it. I've got to get some information put together because I've got some work I got to do down in Utah and Las Cruces in a couple of weeks. It is hard to believe, people, after 10 years, I'm finally going back down to see these two. And no, I have decided I won't be going on air for those 2 weeks. Primarily because I need a break. Much more importantly, I'm going down on a social run. On a social run, there'll be a lot of work done, but that's another issue. By the way, I've only got right this second the Elfyyd race we've been working on today. The Dwarvish race we'll be working on tomorrow. I've got to go through and pick the other 3 races. And we already looked at reptilians and reticulans. So I won't be dealing with those this week. But that said, if any of you guys have a race that you would like to look at, a multiracial species, that is, absolutely ask. Okay, some of you already have Race of the World. Feel free to look through it and see what you come up with. Now, I'll be going through it anyway. Okay, I've got a couple of extra races I've got to start documenting as well. All in all, it's been a little on the hectic side. Now, we are just about hitting the hour-and-a-half mark. And this means I am going to take a quick break because this funny little thing ran out. Water. Sadly, not coffee, but I will be right back.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
about that. Figure due to the temperature and what have you here. Where are we here? Uh-oh. With Molly Python. I think I missed who Molly Python was. I do know the Christmas song called Deck the Part of the Halls with Parts of Molly, but we're not going to get into that. Well, that was just one. Okay, we are back, apparently twice. Now, what do we got here? Did I miss something? Oh, okay. Not exactly a multi-species, not exactly a multi-racial species, but you're referring to the Wara. Joe Monk goes, I'm interested in what you said about the race that wear Bigfoot suits. They don't wear Bigfoot suits. They are another race that looks similar to Bigfoot. Okay. And, I think what we should do in that case is not actually multiracial, but what I might just do is take a look at some of what's out there in the woods that are non-human. Some will be off-worlders. And that's not a bad idea there at all, Joe. Tomorrow we're going to be dealing with Dwarf. Let me deal with this. Okay. I'll have to go through and figure out which ones. We will go and deal with the Dwarf race tomorrow. But I think you've got an idea there, Joe. Okay. And that is to look at the woodland denizens. Now, we are not talking about strictly speaking, or even remotely speaking, a multi-racial species. We're talking about a cluster of people that all have the same basic purpose, or more to the point, live in the same environment. Now, I'm going to have to ask I've got to do a little bit of poking around and find out, because in all these races, people keep telling and keep using the term fae. What I'm not entirely certain of is what the definition or what the qualifier is for a species to be considered fae. And if anybody can fill me in on that, that'd be great. My problem is I look at them all as they're species unto themselves. But I do agree with you there, Joe. And that's why I say on Wednesday. Yeah, because today is, no, that's not right. Not Wednesday. Today is Friday. Yeah, today is Friday. Tomorrow on Saturday, we'll deal with the dwarfing. With the dwarf. When we get to Sunday, we'll deal with the races that dwell in the woods. Okay. And we'll cover a number of different ones there, a number of different species. We're going to have to veer off them necessarily being multiracial. Okay. Because there aren't that many species that really are multiracial, as it turns out. But there are many different species living in various different environments. Now, we already covered the orbs a while ago. And with that in mind, this is why I don't mind swapping things around. We have the woodland dwellers. And then we have the sea ones. And that's only two. That's only 4 out of 5 days covered. So not a big problem with that. Now, the neat part about that is when we start examining these different races and you look at how they get along, maybe, just maybe, humans can get an idea. Okay, I'm going on an extreme long shot. I've been watching humans for well, humans on their own as a dominant surface race, I've been watching for about 60,000 years. Okay, now humans have been around for a lot longer than that, by the way. But I've been watching them for about 60,000 years, give or take. But every time I come back to this planet, to this world, right, I come back here with the same message. Okay, get along. Quit looking to see who you can embarrass or who you can beat up so you can feel better about yourself. Okay, and I will tell you this. Beating people up or belittling people is not just a physical thing. Way too many people do it with their own intellect. Now, I will tell you, in my eyes, I'm one of the densest people on the planet. It took me 56 years to figure out that I don't have to actually fit in with you guys. Okay, I don't have to make everything fit. I simply have to be willing to accept me. Now, I'm hoping I can push you guys, point you guys in the right direction, whereby you can learn to accept you without striving to look down on others. Okay, and I realize for some of you it comes very naturally. You know, the difficult part here is this. When we look at the way this world is, absolutely, if you can make contact with the Elfyyd, with the Dwarf, or for that matter, with the Weclonicon, absolutely do so. These people are, not to mention the Fairy, these people are adept at taking care of the planet and figuring out how to get along amongst themselves. Humans seem to have a real fun drive to break into smaller and smaller groups and wonder why you can't make headway. Okay, when we take a look at a book like this, and people turn around and they go, "Oh, I'm going now." As I told you, this is the Bible. Okay, I think this one's a Gideon. No, think it was Gideon, but this book, so many people say this is the one true God. Newsflash, that's only part of the picture. Okay, but people turn to the book, they'll open it up, they'll read pages out of it, and go, "That's the way to tell if somebody's good." You know what the real funny kicker is? There. On the flip side of that, there are a staggering number of people that will literally look at these things and go, "This is what I base my entire life on." Okay, is the way these cards show up. All abilities come from inside. What do I got here? Oh. Well, in fact, the only thing I've got is stable stuff on my end. What do we got? I'm glad the storm is taking care of this. Yeah, and that probably means this. AKA slow my own energy down. When we take a look at the way this world is, okay, we have to start taking pages out of the books of these races that have managed to figure it out. Okay. because what we're looking at is a staggering amount of change that we have an opportunity to go back. Oh, I see we're having a little bit of trouble with audio. Hopefully on playback, it'll come through a little better.
Keith, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. For past couple of minutes, you haven't been able to, so I've been trying to figure out what's going on this end.
Okay.
Because you were having bursts of rapid speech, and the video catching up at the same time, so it was kind of choppy. Are we?
Voice is clear and no problem, but his is better.
Yeah, yours is being a little choppy. Yeah, probably need to pull back your energy just a little bit. It looks like you're disrupting your own stream.
Yes. Well,
Oh, that's one way to do it.
we can't say that is unheard of.
Yeah, but that's not the problem, apparently. There's something else going down that's causing some interference.
Joyful.
Okay. Yeah, it's bursting. It's like,
And so it's
you
kind
know,
of like puffing and then going spit.
yeah. It's like a clutch it's like a car with a messed up carburetor. Runs fine and puts along and puts along and puts along and puts along. Yeah, not much I can do from this end. I'm kind of confused at this point.
Well, on the plus side, we've only got 10, 15 minutes left.
True.
Of course, at this point, it might be getting that bad. Might be an idea to just cut it a little short.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Could actually be your internet connection. Might be some problems there. Yeah, and Joe Monk blames the aliens. That's a possibility. I tell you what, Keith, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop you off screen real quick and then bring you back on screen, and we'll see if that fixes it.
Okay.
So just be a moment. Okay, let's try that.
Okay, how's that working?
That's a little better. Okay. All right. Sorry, folks. I'll figure out what's going on. We'll go ahead and continue with the rest of it, and just bear with us, and we'll find out what's going on. I'm sorry, Keith. Go ahead and finish what you're saying. We'll do what we can.
No problem. This is the thing. This is why I've got you dealing with this. Picture what would happen, guys, if I was trying to figure this out. You know, I mean, it just gets completely off kilter. You know, the funny part about it there is, you know, one of the big differences here is many times if we're talking about something that some of the people in higher positions don't like being talked about, they'll shut it down. The aliens on the whole are they basically are waiting to find out who figures what out. Now, I'm not the best of the best. I'm certainly not the most well-spoken. Okay. But like I said, here's the thing with the research that people do. On the whole, people go, they read what somebody else has written. Okay. And then they regurgitate it. Okay. Myself, I don't read. I don't research anything. Okay. I do know that there is a documentary coming out on the 4th that I was part of, but I have no idea what it looks like. Okay, and I don't even have the information offhand about when the event is showing. I just remember doing it a while ago, probably close to a year ago now. But when we take a look at the Elfyyd, understand if they were to create a desire to create a problem, in spite of the fact there are many different races there, because they listen to the Tasatano on the whole, there's a very big problem. Yeah, my thoughts exactly there, Renee. Renee's just going, thank you, Storm, for all your help. She goes, appreciate you. And Renee, the reality is, if it weren't for Storm and LA stepping in to take care of this, the odds are I would have shut this stream down 6 months ago completely. Right? Because we had some problem children in here that I didn't know how to cope with. Now I know exactly how to cope with them. Okay. All I do is go, Storm, we've got a problem. Would you mind dealing with it? And there are people that have turned around and said, Storm is a dictator. The fact of the matter is, Storm and LA simply are doing what I've asked to avoid a complication. Now, I get a kick out of it because I walk into an Elfyyd community, and the first thing that I do, the first thing that happens is we end up doing the normal greeting thing, and then carrying on. I follow their rules in their home, but not one of them has ever tried to convince me that they're better than anybody else. Of course, probably because they know that's kind of a waste of time. What we have to start doing, okay, what have we got in here? What we've got to realize is that the way this world is going, if mankind does not get their head on straight, here's the side effect. Never mind nuclear war. Let's just ignore that altogether. Okay, but you've got some problems. Okay, China, Canada, U.S., apparently the Ukraine, and Russia. And if somebody wants to say, I'm not Russian, I'm not Ukrainian, I'm Polish, have a happy. I don't know the political layout, but I do know those that China, Canada, the U.S., I know for an absolute certainty in my heart are on the verge of a civil war. Now, here's the thing. You can have your civil war. You can bomb yourself back to the Stone Age. You can give up your right as a caretaker for Earth. And you can go back to living in the Dark Ages. The Elfyyd are prepared, as are the core board, to step back up onto the surface lands and take over. Okay, they will take care of the planet quite readily because mankind is at a point where either you start pulling together and you start working with each other, or you create a bigger problem for yourselves. The Elfyyd figured it out, and this is why they ended up banding together to push the Cambi out of a dominant position, because the Cambi were a little bit of a problem. Little egocentric. Just a curiosity thing there, Storm. My backing this far away from the computer, did that help at all?
No, it didn't help at all. You can go ahead and go back up closer to the desk if you want to. It's not changing the broadcast stream.
Well, oddly enough, that's kind of a refreshing change.
Yeah, usually it just absolutely disrupts everything, but this is something else in between. We'll try and figure it out when the stream's over.
Yeah, no problem there. Welcome to the world of modern tech. They make it so advanced that that's absolutely useless. Although I shouldn't say absolutely, I wouldn't be here at all if it weren't for tech. More to the point, I wouldn't be doing this stream. But when we look at the way the Elfyyd are, okay, they've got a number of different races, but they're all specialized. Okay, all of them, while they top the tunnel, have learned how to use true magic from across the spectrum. The other ones focused in on their own, on individual types. But that said, where mankind has resorted to technology, the Elfyyd have resorted to natural abilities, some of which are absolutely devastating. Okay, if you take a look at it, where did it go? When we take a look at Hmm. Oh, of course. When we're looking at the Kabari, okay, you're looking at people that can interrupt electricity quite readily because they work on light. In case you haven't figured it out, electricity is light based. Okay, now you take the Kabari and you put them into a situation, all of your technology all of a sudden becomes pointless. Yeah, I do believe, in that list there, guys, that is Joe Stewart that brought that to light. And of everybody in here, Joe has made one of those. Joe has made one of those comments that absolutely, in a positive sense, hit the people in this stream, especially myself. In all fairness, in my eyes, in a really positive fashion, right? The fact of the matter is, he's absolutely right. Okay, not one of us are perfect. All we can do is our best. And just for that, and for those of you that are going to go down that road, practice does not make perfect, but practice does make better or more efficient. Okay, and this is what we have to focus on. In my case, I just look at it going, I'm not dead yet. I will get done what I feel I have that I can. Finances, I'm definitely in a little bit of a bind. Now, I haven't seen the chat come in yet. There was a gentleman here that ordered one of Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. It was sent out today. Okay, and the neat part there is by sending it out today, I found out that I can send it anywhere in the world. Okay, all of these that are this size. This is the Believe in Your series, and what's going to be the whichever race. Okay, that'll be in books this size. Ones this size will be able to ship and be shipped globally, anywhere on the planet, for $20 Canadian. That's taxes in your hand. Okay, which is great. I would rather have a price that applies to everywhere. Okay, sad to say, with the novels, we're working on that. So I'm going to be taking a look at that, making sure things fit. But the Elfyyd are, they're wonderful people. Okay, a little bit stuck on themselves in some people's case, in some of the cases. Okay, and I do have to take a look at that because, much like humans, some of the Elfyyd get to a position where they've accumulated some stuff, or they've gained some knowledge that the commoners haven't got, and they go, I know more than you do, so I'm better. I'll tell you, the most intelligent people on the planet, from any species, the most intelligent ones are the ones that go, I may know more than you in this particular topic, but that does not make me better. Okay, now, again, I am very willing to come on somebody else's stream. All you gotta do, if you want to talk to me about anything from that end, is drop me a line. We'll work out a time to get there. My schedule, aside from this lockdown, is pretty stable. Now, again, before we run out, I am on Spaced Out Radio tonight, okay, from 9 to 11 p.m. PST, with the ET connection. So needless to say, we take the same topic and ship it forward. Okay, fortunately, today's been really weird. I wonder, just because I'm curious. That's really amazing, you know. Let me take it a bit. What missed that? Yeah, it's really amazing right now. I got up at 4 o'clock this morning after 3 hours of sleep. You know, I'm working on 3 hours of sleep and I feel absolutely great, which works out well for tonight. Philip, I didn't see you come in. I wonder how long ago you came in. But welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. You know, the nice part about it is when we start getting to know each other and we transfer that to dealing with all people, whatever race, whatever species. When I say all, I mean humans, off-worlders, ancient races, animals, plants, elementals, you name it. Treat them the way you desire to be treated. Okay, this is the thing that we've got to get through our heads, because right about now, we have to start turning things around, or we go back to the Dark Ages. Your call. Okay, now I, for one, you know, if I don't make it through the next couple of years, I'm done. I'll wait until you all come back and I'll come back in a couple hundred years, right? After all this mess is sorted out, I picked up pieces here so often. It's absolutely insane. I'm not suicidal, don't get me wrong, but I am tired of watching society collapse because of stupidity. You know, but it's up to you guys. Okay. Now I don't know how many subscribers we've got right now. I think today is the second. I'm not going to bother looking to see until probably after I get back from my holiday. Okay. Just because I figure I've spent enough time worrying about that side of it. Now, one of the things I will tell you, okay, and again, if you've got a topic that you're interested in, absolutely drop me a line, because where are we? Nope, don't have it out. Okay, I do have a list of topics for Puzzleberg laid out already. Okay, but what we're looking at right now is an opportunity. What did I touch on my right? The only thing I touched on my right was my mouse to move a like just to scroll down. I was looking for a piece of information on the screen on a static form. I just moved my mouse a fraction. Moved it off the one screen onto the other. But that's the best I can tell you. Other than that, what I've been dealing with is this funny thing. Oh! Yeah, that was all I ended up doing. So, I don't know, but the screen's now. If the screen's good now, that's fantastic. Minute and a half before we shut the stream. But hey, what the heck. In any event, guys, we will be back again. Well, tonight and in what? 2.5 hours. I'll be on Spaced Out Radio for a couple hours then. Then tomorrow at 4:30 until 6:30 p.m. we will be back to discuss the Dwarfid race. Okay, the Dwarven race. And all of their odds and ends. Okay, I keep referring to them as Dwarven primarily because it's a common term. Okay, but I do desire to take this time to thank everybody for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate the input. Really appreciate your efforts. That said, I will see you again tomorrow. and maybe later. Well, I'll see some of you later tonight. Until then, take care of yourselves. Thank you very much for that, Renee. I don't actually leave until the 13th of August. I fly out of here, and I'll be gone until the 27th. But I'm going down to spend a couple of weeks with my other half. And we'll find out how good that goes. But until we meet again, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.